Right.
So, if it dribbles out, it dribbles out.
Well,
At least
it
what we
clearly
do.
will.
Right.
I mean, I hope it does for reasons of needing to move forward quickly.
With that being said, from up here, we'll be able to do something that would be nice.
Yep. Although he says don't make a fuss. They all say.
Oh, how you? Yeah. Friday. Tuesday. Good morning. The January 14th, 2015 meeting of the Board of Investment is now called to order. In the interest of promoting the order and efficiency of these hearings, persons who are disruptive to the hearing will be asked to leave the hearing room immediately. Madam Deputy Controller, are there any corrections, additions, or deferrals on the agenda?
Good morning. On today's agenda, we have the following changes to be made. On page 25, under the amount of money and source, it currently reads $1,613.75. Please delete that amount and replace it with $1,745. In the background explanation, second paragraph, first line, after the word sold for, please again delete $1,613.75 and replace it with $1,745. On page 47, in the background explanation, the following sentence will be added at the end of that paragraph, and it reads as follows. The department will provide $86 million to fund the project. Funding will be provided from toll credits and federal aid, period. On page 77, item number 3, on the first line after the word rejection, it currently reads February 16, 2014. Please delete 16 and replace that with 26, so that will read February 26, 2014. On page 105, for item number 24, in the background, in the fourth line from the bottom, at the end of that line, it currently reads Department of Recreation and Parks. Please delete Recreation and Parks and replace that with Transportation. That will read Department of Transportation. The board received a protest from Ms. Kim Trueheart for pages 1 to 113 for all items on the agenda. The board will not hear her protest. It did, however, review it. I have the following items that are going to be deferred. Page 41, defer for 1 week. Page 77, item number 3, defer for 1 week. Page 92, item number 3, defer for 1 week. The following items that were previously on the non-routine agenda will be moving to the routine agenda. And those are page 47, pages 94 to 96, number 10, pages 96 to 97, number 11. Remaining on the non-routine agenda are pages 104, item 23, and page 105, item 24. The Honorable Mayor Rawlins Blake will abstain on page 92, item 1, and page 108 to 109. The Honorable President Young will abstain on page 13, item 1, pages 67 to 68, items 1 and 2, pages 70 to 71, item number 7. The Honorable President Young will also vote no on page 102, item 20, and 102 to 103, item number 21. The Honorable Comptroller Pratt will abstain on page 63, page 64, page 79, items 9 and 10 for J.F. Fisher only, pages 94 to 96, item 10 for J.F. Fisher only, and for pages 96 and 97, item 11 for J.F. Fisher only. Mr. President and members of the board, those are the changes to today's agenda, the deferred items, the items being moved to the routine agenda, as well as the abstentions and the no votes. Thank you.
Thank you. I will direct the board members' attention to the memorandum from my office dated January 12th, 2015, identifying matters to be considered as routine agenda items, together with any correction and additions that have been noted by the Deputy Controller. I will entertain a motion to approve all of the items contained on the routine agenda.
Move approval of all items on the routine agenda.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carried. The routine agenda has been adopted. The first item on the non-routine agenda can be found on page 104, and formal awards, renewals, increases, contract and extensions. Item 23, solicitation number B 5003161, Baltimore City Agency and Miscellaneous Artists, Department of Finance, for the Department of Recs and Parks. Will the parties please come forward?
Democrat City Purchasing Agent, this is the approval of an engagement letter with SB and Company to perform quadrennial agency audits for the Department of Recreation and Parks for a total of $164,592.
I continue to have concerns with the use of outside auditors when Article 5, Section 8A of the city charter fully covers the audit function of the city if the Department of Audits was given sufficient funding to do so. My review of the engagement letters being brought before the board today reinforced my concerns of independence and the separation of the administration from the audit process. The 1964 charter purposely moved the city auditor from the administration to the Office of Comptroller to provide effective, independent oversight of the financial operations of the executive departments. The charter amendment of 2013 diminished this independence. And I'm going to ask Barb McCarty, the city auditor, to address the concerns regarding the engagement letter, and then Gail Adams, the deputy city auditor, to address the concerns of the city charter.
Hey, good morning, Mr. President, members of the board. Bob McCarty, city auditor. We have the following concerns about the engagement letters that are being presented, both the ones on page 104, number 23, and 105, number 24. On the Recreation and Parks engagement letter, and we addressed this with...
Excuse me. Yes, I'm sorry. We're going to address both of these at the same time.
Is that okay?
All right. Is that okay with everybody? All right. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, so it would be the second item on the non-routine agenda, and that's on 105, informal awards, renewals, increases to contract and extensions. Item 24, solicitation number B 5003161, Baltimore City Agency, Miscellaneous Artists, Department of Finance for the Department of Transportation. So both of them, you can do them together.
Okay, thank you. We had the following concerns with the both engagement letters being presented today. The first was on Recreation and Parks. We discussed this with the Director of Finance yesterday, and the engagement letter states that the audit will be performed on the department's carve-out financial statements. We had questions on that. Does this include both the required financial statements, which both the balance sheet and the statement of revenues and expenditures and changes in the fund balance are required under government auditing standards to be included? I did receive an email from Mr. Raymond this morning, and he said he had spoken with SB and Associates, and SB and Company, and he received assurances that the audit methodology is GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Principle, and GAGAS, generally accepted government auditing standards compliant. Our question is, does the engagement letter as currently written need to be clarified to include the required financial statements to be audited? I can pause there or continue on, or?
Good morning. I'm Henry Raymond, Director of Finance. In reference to Mr. McCarty's concern, we believe that the engagement letter does not need to be modified. As indicated, the engagement letter and the methodology for the engagement is in compliance with GAAP and GAGAS. So we believe that this is a non-issue as it relates to the carve-out. Essentially, the carve-out relates to the legal entity. In this particular case, Baltimore City is the legal entity. The assets are in the name of, the assets and liabilities are in the name of the city, not a particular department. As a result of that, there's particular methodology called carve-out for how to break out those, to assign those assets and liabilities to the department level. So the assurance is that these are full, complete financial audits in compliance with GAAP and GAGAS. And I do have the contractor in attendance today.
Okay, the carve-out terminology was not used in the Department of Transportation engagement letter. It appears I'm sorry. That's okay. It appears they're doing the full financial statement audit based on their language.
The only difference between the two engagement letters is that they were written by two different firms, so both firms did not use the same specific language. But both engagement letters will be performed in compliance with GAAP and GAGAS.
And both will be on a carve-out basis relative to the agency that is within Baltimore City because it's not the entire city, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I guess I need to find a definition of carve-out. I'm not familiar with the terminology.
Yeah, we'll provide that to you.
Okay, and continuing on with Rec and Parks, we also had the opportunity yesterday to discuss with Mr. Raymond the fact that the engagement letter covers fiscal years 2010 to 2013. And that includes another financial audit of fiscal year 2012. The fiscal year 2012 financial audit has already been performed by the Department of Audits. We felt that it was redundant and not a proper use of taxpayers' money to have fiscal year 12 audited again. And as we discussed yesterday, fiscal year 2014 could be used to replace fiscal year 12 to provide a fourth year to be audited.
And we concur with that. The auditor will still have to perform a performance audit on fiscal 12 because the Department of Audits audit was only a financial audit.
Yes.
So we will amend the contract so that instead of the contractor performing an audit on fiscal 12, it'll be fiscal 14, and the contractor will perform a performance audit on fiscal 12 and 14.
Okay, and also not addressed in the engagement letter was that Recreation and Parks was to have annual audits to receive its National Recreation and Parks certification. The agency has stated its desire to receive this certification both for national recognition and for the opportunity to receive additional funding. I'm not sure what they're doing with this now. They have included that in their response to our findings recently. The Department of Audits is on record that we are available to perform annual audits of Recreation and Parks.
By the award of this contract to the vendor, there will be consecutive audits, so Rec and Parks will still meet the requirements to apply for the certification.
Will the audits be individual or one audit for the period of 10 to 13 or 14?
Individual audits for each of the fiscal years.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I'm on the Department of Transportation engagement letter. We noticed that the engagement letter did not state that the performance audits will be conducted in accordance with government auditing standards. And this is a requirement for all government performance audits.
We agree, and as I previously stated, for both of the engagement letters, the performance audits and the financial audits will be completed in accordance with GAAP and GAGAS.
And will that engagement letter need to be revised to include that?
I don't believe so, but we can have that done just for the record.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, in both performance engagement letters, they stated that the performance audits are solely to assist the agency in evaluating up to 5 management assertions of performance, which will be determined by the Department of Finance. We do not believe that this was the intention of the City Council legislation that amended the city charter. Having the administration cherry-pick the criteria to be audited can steer the auditors away from areas that could be problematical and provide favorable audit results. This would be a violation of government auditing standards for performance auditing. This approach appears to be more of an agreed-upon procedure method rather than a performance audit. An example of an agreed-upon procedure would be an agency has a specific concern to be addressed, like missing revenues, and they would hire an auditor or paying the auditing service for the agency to request that the auditor review the procedures and make any recommendations to correct in this case, in my example, the missing revenues issue.
I take exception to the term cherry pick. We've had extensive discussion with the City Council President in terms of what performance issues the Office of the President would like reviewed in each of the agencies. We compiled a list of all of the performance metrics that the agencies have been subject to for the last several years. This information is contained in the annual budget books. We compiled all of this information and we'll be providing it to the auditors. We believe that when the audits begin, based on the discussions that the agency has with the external auditor, the decision will be made at that time which metrics will be looked at. The finance department is not dictating which metrics should be reviewed at all. That's not the role of finance. The finance department's role is to administer the contract. So we will not be cherry picking which measures are reviewed for any of the agencies.
The engagement letter says.
Yeah,
the engagement letter
basically,
says that.
it would be provided by the Department of Finance. We were not aware of the City Council President's input in this based on the engagement letter. But that's basically what it said. That's what we're basing our comments on.
So when we have the engagement letters amended, we'll have that amended as well.
Amended to reflect what you just mentioned? Yes. Yeah.
Amended to reflect that the finance department is not dictating or cherry picking which metrics will be reviewed.
Okay, on audit fees, both engagements provide both engagement letters, excuse me, provide for the possibility of requesting additional fees if significant additional time is necessary. Our engagement letter provided for a fixed fee, and we will not exceed our proposed fee. In conclusion, I'd like to state that the Department of Audits, given sufficient funding, is fully capable of performing all required financial and performance audits. This would free the administration of any potential interference in the audit process. However, Henry has mentioned the change in the engagement letter for the performance audits, which would also help in that regard too. And any questions before?
Madam Mayor.
I just wanted to, and I don't know, Henry, if you mentioned this in your statement, just reiterate that the charter amendment allowed for this work. So this was the intention of the City Council to allow for outside auditors to participate, correct?
That is correct. The charter requirement was that agencies would make their own selection between using the Department of Audits or an external auditor. And that's the way the...
And that was, I'm sorry to interrupt, and that was in the the legislation that was passed by the council and approved by the public.
That is also correct, Madam Mayor.
And what you're doing is facilitating the administration of and the implementation of that charter amendment.
That's correct.
Okay.
Purely administrative function.
And my comment on the intention of city council legislation was based on the wording in the engagement letter that the Department of Finance was picking the performance criteria to be audited. That was my purpose of that comment.
Okay. And as we've indicated, we'll
Yes.
have the engagement letters modified in reference to the comments regarding resource allocation. Those are budget decisions, and likely all agencies have a belief that they should receive more funds than they receive. As we're all aware, the city has limited financial capacity, and we're making the best choices that we can for all of the services to be offered citywide.
I'll entertain a motion.
There's another presentation, I think, on the charter.
Both of them. Okay.
Good morning, my name is Gail, I'm the Deputy City Auditor. Yeah, I'm fine. I know you mentioned that the amended charter was passed by the City Council, but that does not make it right. The charter, the city charter, prior to the passing of the amendment, was not broken. Article 5, Section 8A spelled out the general powers and duties of the city auditor and the Department of Audits, which includes that the city auditor shall be, at appropriate intervals, conduct an audit of the financial transactions of every municipal agency, except for the Department of Audits, shall conduct an annual audit of all accounts, revenues, and receipts of the city, may audit the expenditures of city-granted funds by any public or private agency that receives such funds, may audit city contracts, grants, subgrants, and other agreements as required by the terms and conditions of these instruments. And when the contracts, grants, subgrants, and other agreements require that the audits be conducted by other auditors, review such audits. We can review them. And shall make such other audits any member of the Board of Estimates may request, provided that they do not, in the judgment of the city auditor, hinder the performance of our regular audits. This means the city auditor can audit anything. Every single agency, service, program, activity, etc., can be audited by the city auditor. But there's a caveat to this, to doing all these duties and responsibilities, which is sufficient funds shall be included in the ordinance of estimates for the Department of Audits to enable the city auditor to perform the duties that are prescribed in the city charter. The department budget has been eroded over time. Positions have been abolished, frozen. We are very good stewards of the funding provided to our department and have never requested a budget that goes beyond our requirements to fulfill our chartered mandates, duties, and responsibilities. There was no need to amend the charter to audit city agencies. Our forefathers, or the creators of the 1964 city charter, was very wise. They did not take this responsibility lightly and have created an instrument that will withstand the test of time. We can perform the agency audits if sufficient funding is provided to our department. But rather than allowing the Department of Audits to carry out its duties and responsibilities as they are prescribed under Article 5 and fund us sufficiently, the city chose to make an amendment to the city charter and established it under the mayor's executive departments and to fund outside independent CPA firms. These other CPA firms are profit motivated and only have a duty to the client. We are less costly. I'm a civil servant. The city auditor is a civil servant. We, the Department of Audits, we have an allegiance to the public trust. We decide what to audit in the best interest of the taxpayer dollars while carrying out our mandate duties and responsibilities and using the limited resources provided to us. Even the creators of the 1964 city charter knew the placement of audits should not be placed under the executive branch of government. They knew the importance of independence. Independence means to be free from any and all influences, personal, external, organizational, in fact and appearance, real or perceived. The placement of the amended charter does not meet the test of independence. One of the executive departments, Department of Finance, now you indicated that you're going to change the language, but based on the language of the original of the contracts that came before the board today, it was the Department of Finance was responsible for carrying out the process of awarding the agency to the outside firms and then deciding upon what is to be audited. And in doing that, and I just want to emphasize, in doing that, it is just like leaving the fox to guard the hen house. And you don't do that. You don't do that. This is a conflict of interest as the executive branch is regulating and reporting on itself. Thank you.
If I may. I have a question. Is this the testimony that you gave at the city council hearing on this charter amendment?
I can't recall the exact words of what was taking place, but we did protest back then in regards to the placement.
Because it seems like that would have been the more appropriate time to have that.
I believe no one was listening. No one was listening to what we've been trying to say.
Well, what I would say is that the council, just like the comptroller is an independently elected official, so are the council members and the council president. There was a bill that was introduced. There was at least one public hearing where the independently elected officials heard from the public, heard from the comptroller's office, and after hearing all of that information, made a decision that they believed best reflected the interests of their constituents. Wasn't something I was supporting, but it was something that was done, and it was done in, I believe, with a process that represented good government and integrity. Not only did that process go forward, then there was an election. And at the time of the election, the public spoke and overwhelmingly supported it. I didn't support it, but the public did. So I have to take exception with your opening statement that while it was passed by the public, that it's not right. That's what we're here to do, to implement and to uphold the laws. And especially the with overwhelming support of the public. The public was asked and answered, and in the answer provided for not only for the comptroller to participate in the audits, these regular routine audits, but also outside contractors. If there was a legal challenge, which it seems like you're making today to that charter amendment, I'm sure there are legal remedies. But to suggest that the council president and the members of the council did anything outside of what was Clearly, I mean, agree or not agree, they acted with integrity, good government, and I do not, while I don't agree with it, I certainly would not stand before the council president or any of them and say what they did was wrong.
I don't believe I said that.
Those were your exact words.
I just said we're the placement of the amendment, and the charter, as it stand before the amendment, was not broken. That's what I said.
I'll let you review your testimony.
Madam Mayor, we both talked about the fact that you did not agree and you were not supportive, and we wouldn't be here today if the Department of Audits had been sufficiently funded as mandated by the charter. You didn't agree, I didn't agree, and the problem could have been solved if you had given us the funds that we needed to perform all the audits.
I guess in reference to that, again, I'll state that at the time we were making this decision, resources were very limited. We made the best decision we could at the time, believing that we could have these 13 audits done at less cost than what your proposal was. The proposal that you provided was 28 positions for an additional $2.3 million per year. Due to limited resources, we believe we can get the audits accomplished for less than that. And again, these types of funding decisions will have to be resolved through the outcome-based budgeting process.
Okay, you hear me? Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear myself. The dollar figure Mr. Raymond referred to was the initial figure we came up with when the initial bill was proposed to City Council, which proposed an audit of all city agencies, both financial and performance. Not the 13 we're talking about right now.
The 13 would have been.
I did much less, but I don't have the exact figure.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval of the two items, 23 and 24, recommended by the Bureau of Purchases, addressed by the Director of Finance, with the expectation that the amendments the Director generally referred to the terms of the engagement will be incorporated.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
I vote no, because the Department of Audits, as mandated by the city charter, should be funded sufficiently, and the charter amendment states that the Department of Audits or an outside auditor can be selected to perform the financial or performance audits. Therefore, it is not necessary to hire an outside auditing firm, particularly when it is clear in doing so that it will affect the integrity of the audit process. The audit process is required to be independent and without influence, whether it is real or perceived. So I vote no.
Please note the comptroller vote no. The motion is carried. Where's Caitlin? This is Caitlin's last Board of Estimate. Caitlin works for the President's office, and her duties were to staff the Board of Estimates. And I want to personally thank her for her years of service to the City of Baltimore and to the office of the Council President. And I wish her well in her new endeavors. There have been no further business before the board. The meeting will recess until bid opening at 12 noon. Thank you.
Good afternoon, the Board of Ethics is now in session. For the receiving and opening of bids, I have the following addendum to read today. TR 13302, 33rd Street and Rockaway Boulevard, Geometric Safety Improvement Project. Please change the bid due date from January 7th to January 28th, 2015. TR 13302. It was a prior addendum that I just read addendum number 3. Addendum number 2 reads for the same project, TR 13302, 33rd Street and Lockwood Boulevard Geometric Safety Improvements Project. Please change the bid due date from December 10th to January 17th, 2015. Thank you very much. The other addenda we have for today is WC 1325, repaving utility cuts at various locations. Please change the bid due date from January 14th, 2015 to January 28th, 2015. Those are the addenda for today.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
GS 14830, structural repairs at Engine 57, IQC GS 13810.
What was that?
Two, okay, I put two, it just looked kind of strange here, I was trying to make sure. I think it's this first page here. I think it's this first page.
Like a multiple P5s.
Yeah, I think it's here.
Have that.
Like, the very first page, second page, yeah, I think that. Second page, yeah. It's what we used to. And I checked back here to see the name of the contractor.
Okay, and then
I gotta read. I go to law department. Let me see if there's anything else here.
and since he's over 100,000, we actually
And then back out here. We can't figure out, you're right, we have to confirm it, as you still. I make a motion to refer the bid of Tito Contractors to the Law Department for review.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Matter having been properly moved and seconded, refer to the law department for
back. Good? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, these are general structure repair. Yeah. Right. Mhm.
CAM Construction. I make a motion to refer the bid of CAM Construction Company, Inc. to the Law Department for review.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All in,
Yeah, CAM, C-A-M, CAM Construction, yes.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. The matter having been properly moved and second is referred to the Law Department for review. Thank you.
I have some checks coming.
Thank you.
B50003868, conventional cab bulk truck.
Mhm.
Harbor Truck Sales and Service, Inc., doing business as Baltimore Freightliner, with a check. $260,000.
I don't have before. Oh, right here. Okay.
Again, this is Harbor Truck Sales and Service, Inc., doing business as Baltimore Freightliner, with a check. $260,206.
That's all there is.
Yes, sir, please. This bid B500368 is listed as not requiring a bid bond. Beltway International LLC. $256,896.
Refer these bids to the Bureau of Purchases for tabulation and report.
B50003878, Liquid Oxygen Plant Number 2 at Patapsco Wastewater Treatment Plant. A bid bond is required if the amount is over $100,000. Solution Works, Inc., with a check, $207,000.
Refer this bid to the Bureau of Purchases for tabulation and report.
I'm sorry, thank you. B50003885, Snow Removal Services 7. A bid bond is not required. This bid lists equipment that will be available. So we'll only be reading the names. 2 Scott's Lawn Services, LLC. S.R. Schulte Contracting. L&J Waste Recycling, LLC. Global Environmental Solutions, Inc. Hartford Tree Experts and Landscaping.
Refer these bids to the Bureau of Purchases for tabulation and report.
B50003897, supply of fire hose. A bid bond is not applicable. North American Fire Hose, $36,000. Lewis Getz and Company, Inc., $50,150. Maryland Fire Equipment Corporation, $140,200. Whitmer Public Safety Group, Inc., $114,676.
Refer these bids to the Bureau of Purchases for tabulation. I knew that was gonna happen.
Sorry, not strong enough.
That was too small.
Yeah, I thought it might not be.
Oh, no, that's
Need
too
to get
small.
some. Oh, yeah, let's take this one. Oops, you see one?
That's one.
Hope it works.
Yeah, no, that
Yeah,
was good.
try
Too
this one.
small, yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of them are dry rot.
Well, come over to the department, get some of them. We sure you have some good ones.
I'll send some rubber bands over
Yeah,
for you
please,
guys.
please.
Oh, that's
We
too
got
big.
one now,
That's too
okay.
big.
Okay,
That's too
good.
big.
We're okay. Okay.
Okay.
There being no further business, we are adjourned. Thank you.